Don't freak out. It's not Christmas. It's not the Christmasing. You haven't missed like months and months and months of life. Don't worry about it.
Plus, I'm not going to pretend to be Alistair in this one. I just felt like putting on Alistair's hat and coat.
I don't know why.
It was over there.
Alright, this is going to take some background because if you are never listened to Lesbian Talk before, first of all, shame on you. Shame on you. But also, I have ranted several times about the Elf on the Shelf. If you're American, you know what this product is. If you're not, you're lucky. Basically, it's this horrible merchandising idea trying to create a new Christmas tradition where you buy this little elf doll, and it's not that your children can play with it. Oh no, because they're actually forbidden from touching it. See, the little elf comes with his little box and his little book, and basically the story that you tell your children is, this is your personal elf from Santa. Santa sent this elf into your home to watch you during the day. Now, when I was little, we were just told Santa always knows what you're doing. He's kind of like God that way. He always knows when you're being bad. Fair enough. You know, God's omniscient, Santa Claus is omniscient, okay, that works for me. But no, that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough for some people. See, this elf is there to watch you during the day, report back to Santa Claus at night, because I guess he's delegated now. And if you touch the elf, the magic goes out of him. So it's buying your children a toy that they can't even play with, that you're using as like the emotional manipulation of if you don't be good, you won't get presents, wasn't enough for some people. It's, welcome to the police state, child. I know what you're doing all the time. Santa Claus knows what you're doing. I can see little children forming psychotic delusions around the Elf on the Shelf. Because when you're a little kid, you have that kind of idea that, like, if no one can see what you're doing, you're safe. But this idea of, like, the Elf on the Shelf is always watching you. There's even a song that goes with it. So I ranted about this for years and years and years, and it's part of my retail life. And so we met a fan at Alcon, and her name is Claire, and she drove all the way up to London just to hang out with us, which was really, really awesome. And she gave me a t-shirt, which... Actually, if I thought I probably would have worn it.
Yeah.
But it's really cold in our flat. But it's really great because it has a vampire on it and says, well, we didn't win, we didn't die. And she gave me this.
Yeah.
And we decided that because we own this existential horror and because it's only 27 minutes long, we should watch it and do a special Backseat critique. Yeah, even though we owe patrons.
Yeah, we have several patron Backseat critiques sitting there.
After the last one, I'm not too sure how I feel about it.
Fuck you, car. Basically, Omega works like fuck on a lot of things. I work really hard too, but I can drop it and do a Backseat critique, but she works really hard and usually not in the flat, so... And Robin's not here, so I basically can only get a Backseat critique with her whenever she's able to. And
although, when the Disaster Artist comes out, we're going to have 2 new guest stars for the Backseat critique. A classmate of mine and her boyfriend, so...
But because this was less than 30 minutes, we were able just to get it out, bang it out, so... I'm going to add this to the review list. I've been looking for much shorter than feature film things that can possibly be made episodes, because those episodes are short, which means less work for me.
Like Chirpy.
Yeah, Chirpy was only 12 minutes. Night Satan, although because Teddy reviewed it, I had to do a lot of extra sort of editing work there and sort of rewriting and stuff and working with him to get retakes and everything. It was very time consuming because I wasn't presenting it. But yeah, I'm sure I could get a decent episode out of that.
When was this done?
Christmas.
2012. I just want to say, CGI, just because you can, does not always mean you should.
Yeah. This thing, you got... Okay.
Like, it wasn't PS1 level, but you can tell some cheapness went into this.
You got, like, the Santa Claus is... He can live in his magic house of being Santa Clausness, where you've got the doors are wide open in the middle of the winter in the North Pole, and he's not fucking cold.
But he's a mythical being, so cold might not affect him the same way.
Santa Claus is a guy who occasionally does magic. He's not a mythical being.
I think he's a mythical being. I think it's the kind of thing where you transcend what your origins were.
No.
Well, that's how consensus reality works. Read some Joseph Campbell.
No.
Well, anyway. But yeah, so it's really weird because obviously Christmas Village is built for people who are human-sized or these small elf-sized, but these elves are wee. Elves? They're wee.
They're like a foot tall.
So then I'm like,
Less than
okay,
a foot.
like, here's the thing then, where are the race of elves that make toys? Are they a different race? Did he like breed these ones
Unless
specifically
Santa Claus
for this?
built this entire village for his own convenience and then built a bunch of tiny little elf people to be his minions. And every year he creates new ones to go out into the world.
Scout elves. Yeah, it's like, they're like, oh, we made it. We're scout elves now. And so when they get their assignment, then they actually go into the factory, are packaged in the actual elf on the shelf box with the book, exactly like you would buy it. Okay, I don't want to say it's product placement because obviously this is a movie that's designed to sell.
It's an advertisement.
But it just felt really, really, really
It's not even
stupid.
It's not even advertisement in the sense that Transformers the movie was advertisement. That was a film designed to sell toys. But this is a film that's designed around the actual product being a thing in the thing.
Yeah, tell your parents, kids, you want that in your life.
Yeah, so it's completely different from that sort of thing. It's also... It's the best bit of product placement movie making advertising since, well, worst bit, since Christian Mingle the movie. Or possibly...
Is that a thing?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
I
knew Christian Mingle was a thing.
I was about to compare it to, Pepsi Max, the live show, but, that doesn't actually exist. It should, though. That would be great. It'd be like...
You know the Pepsi Max?
Pepsi Max. Don't drink Coke.
You're shaking it up.
Don't drink Coke.
Actually, I like ginger Pepsi Max.
Oh, no!
I dropped it. The magic went out of it. I like ginger Pepsi Max. But anyway, so your main kid... I mean, the elves had names before that. They're just never mentioned. But so, when your elf comes to you...
Number 705,001 Alpha.
Well, it makes it sound like they have it, like, tattooed on their arms or, like
yeah,
Holocaust victims or something.
The ones... Okay, you got the two kinds of elves. You got the ones who are making the toys, who are clearly some sort of degenerate Morlock-type species. These are the evil ones. And if they fail to become Scout elves, they get eaten by the Morlock ones.
Aye. But yeah, so he's assigned Timmy McTuttle, which I don't think is a real Scottish nor Irish name, but whatever.
I don't think McTuttle is a real thing. But then again, neither was McFly, and it did not harm Back to the Future any.
Fair enough. But so he doesn't believe, and they say this in the tone of voice that like he is a homosexual.
Yeah, the movie is like is the equivalent of wanting you to grab small children who don't believe in Santa Claus and sort of smack them on the fucking head.
Yes. So then he sits into this home. It's like they're the whitest suburbia ever. With like these two like little twins who I think they're supposed to be maybe like 3 or 4 years old. So their level of enthusiasm is fair enough.
They're like the little girl from Monsters, Inc., but crossed with the twins from The Shining.
No, because they didn't like just... They were very expressive.
Yeah,
but I'll give them that because in my volunteer job I was speaking to a client and she had to bring her little boy with her and he was 3, about to be 4, and while I was going through a questionnaire with her, he basically did his own like entire like freestyle song about Spider-Man. Well, he was playing with, that little toy that has like all the wires and little things go woo, 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 woo. He was just playing with that, just singing about Spider-Man to himself. It was great. Like, which is fantastic.
Probably better than the songs in this.
Alright, so like, I'll give them that. So if the twins are meant to be that young, fair play. But you never really told how old the boy is supposed to be, because I'm like, here's the thing, like...
I think he's supposed to be like 7 or 8.
At a certain point, believing in Santa Claus marks you as being weird. Especially with guys. Like, wait, so what if he goes around professing his belief? He's gonna get the shit kicked out of him at school. He's gonna get bullied. But he's just like...
Yeah, but then he'll get his revenge whenever the elf comes along and he rides on top of the elf and he sort of chases after the bully down this thing. Oh, wait, I'm describing the never-ending story. But, it'll be actually never-ending story, but replace Falcor at the end with this motherfucker. How terrifying.
But yeah, so the first thing is you have to do, you have to name the elf. So they had to sing a fucking song about it. And they named him Chippy.
It's like, they get to name the elves because Santa Claus breeds so many of these things, and he's
here's the thing. He finally that night he like comes out because they're like Toy Story. They should only move when people aren't there. He's like, oh wow, I've got my magic now. So basically, like, is magic a power that was always inherent in this elf race, or is it bestowed by Santa only at that point? Like, was he holding out on them? Like, I have so many questions.
Yeah, the way but Santa Claus doesn't bother giving them names because there's been so many. He doesn't give a shit about any of them. They're the equivalent of Lego bricks.
Although he seems to be, like, intimately familiar with each elf and their personal struggles, but whatever.
He's pretending he doesn't care.
Although I do like the idea of Santa Claus being omniscient. I think that's important. But yeah, so they all fly back, and they get to talking, and his one... Like, I'll give them this. There are multiracial elves. Like, there's elves...
two counts as multi.
Well, no, because there was one that kind of looked like they were Hispanic.
Yeah, but you're not sure. There's definitely black
so
ones,
either
there's
Hispanic,
definitely white ones.
Either Hispanic or, like, Indian or something. And then there were black and white. So we have 3 races, and there are girl elves. But here's the thing, though. Like, so the elf on the shelf comes in boy and girl, and it does come in 2 different colors. You know, Caucasian and black. And it can get a bit hedgy, because so this woman that I worked with when I was in Baltimore, she went in to go get 2 elf on the shelves. She got one for her wee boys. And she started to reach for the girls. She was like, oh, where are they? And the girl's like, oh, they're over here. She went to Target. Started to reach for one. The girl's like, oh, no, that's the black one. And, like, hands her the white one. She goes, my kids are mixed. Thank you. Because she married a black guy, and her 2 children, they're mixed race. And she was like, I was really offended. I'm like, how dare that girl assume that, like, you know, I was wrong in, like, the race that I was choosing of elves. And I'm like, you paid $25 for this? I think she was right in her assumptions. And she's like, what are you trying to say? And I'm like, I think it's a bad idea. And she was like, well...
Elf on the Shelf is always a bad idea.
Yeah. But, like, yeah, so there's, like, so, like, what if you're Asian? There's no... I haven't seen any Asian elf on the shelf, but...
If you're gonna make a film about magical Christmas elves, you know, why are people still trying to do this? I mean, elves... where the Nazis created where Nazis created elves in order to, like, create the Fourth Reich, and they have to be defeated by this guy with Grizzly Adams. That exists. It was created in the 80s. You know, it has immortal lines like, tell me about the connection between the elves and the Nazis.
This was only done to sell a product, and...
Are you telling me that this would more successfully sell that product than having a copy of Elves the movie and just has nothing to do with Elf and Shelf? It's just like, Elf!
Oh.
Grizzly Adams shooting fucking magical elf Nazis in the head.
And this came with it. It's a free gift.
Free. For everything but your sanity.
But yeah, so he gets his magic and he flies around, but he can't make the kid believe. And finally, like...
The magic is depicted exactly the same, with the exact same visual effect as Elf
After Effects. But so the thing is that we got to talking. And they were like, he was like, the elf said, because she said, well, it would just be easier if we could just fly around the room and look like Chris's magic. They'd be like, oh, I can see it, I believe it. So while they're queuing to report to Santa, he says, you know, it'd just be so much easier to just fly around the room. And then the girl elf says, nah, see, because belief is in your heart. And we stopped it. And you were like, what? And I said, they're doing the same thing that religious folk do. Calling belief, like thinking of it as an emotion, an emotional reaction, rather than a logical conclusion.
Well, if you see evidence of something and you know it to be true based on that evidence, then you still believe in it.
Right.
I don't give a fuck about their dumbass definition.
And the climax, right? You know, the wee girls are talking to the elf, and he's like, oh, come on, it's not real. And they're like, yes, it is. And he's like, fine. Then I won't believe until I see him, I don't know, fly around the room. And he's got until my finger touches it to do it. But he holds true, and and he falls down. Before, when he tripped and fell off the table, he was caught by his magic. He's like, oh no, I lost my magic, and I'm injured as well. And he, like, and his way of getting out of the house is flying up the chimney. And this family, for some reason, always has a roaring fire on.
Yep.
Even when no one's attending it, no fire screen or nothing, no fire.
They're trying to commit suicide, but it's not working.
So he flies up, like, the incredibly hot, searing chimney. But he can't fly, and so he ends up in the snow, dying, and his friends are conveniently flying by, like, oh no, our friend.
Yeah, it's like they're all in the same direction, wherever the fuck this is, Anchorage or whatever.
They're all, like, assigned. Oh yeah, and it must be somewhere, like, quite north, because it's always snowing for the entire month of December.
Plus, it only takes him 2 seconds to fly all the way from the house to the North Pole, even though it takes him 2 seconds to get up the fucking chimney.
Yeah, but if they have magic, then you could reasonably assume that they have speed of magic.
Yeah, but they could have got up the chimney quicker then.
Yeah.
I'm calling bullshit.
Yeah, but there might be certain constraints of what they can do in proximity to humans.
Are you really trying to come up with world-building things to explain this movie away, otherwise than just assuming that Elf, the story of the Elf on the Shelf, might have a logical problem in its script writing?
I just feel the need to always, like, find explanations of why things are.
Well, stop it. This thing...
It's a use... Hey, as a writer, And as a critical thinker, it's a useful skill.
You have to stop. It's based on a fucking book that was written by someone, and yet it also has 9 story credited
That's
people and 4 script credited people.
And
it's
really
26 minutes.
And really bad songs too. Oh, and there's the African American elf. He ends up with the name Zart. That's what they name him. And he's like speaks in like kind of like modern kids. What did you call it?
I said it was like a modern kids movie, light equivalent of Jive.
It's like how no African American children actually speak.
Yeah.
And so he also like raps a wee bit. And I was like, I'm gonna be so annoyed if I find out that this voice actor is white. I looked him up, and his name is Shamik Moore, and he's an American actor and rapper from Georgia, who is known for The Get Down and for being involved in a Tyler Perry show, among other things.
Oh, poor dear. This and Tyler Perry at once.
And he's just been announced as the voice of Miles Morales in the new Sony animated Spider-Man.
Well, that's going to be crap. All Spider-Man shows are crap.
This is on his IMDb, but strangely, it's not credited on his Wikipedia page.
But they got 4 writers for this, and it's 26 minutes. So, on average, each one of them wrote about 6 minutes. Maybe 7 if you're lucky.
Oh, and there's a song. It's like Extravaganza Glorious or something.
I'd like a credit for 7 pages work.
I think they were trying to come up with their own supercalifragilisticexpialidocious kind of thing, but it was just really stupid.
Like everything else they did.
So, alright, so he ends up in the elf ER, because that's actually a thing. And he's like, nah, I failed. I'm not going back. I screwed up, you guys.
ERF. Because ERF.
That's really good.
ERF.
The elves have their own casualty. But so then Santa Claus comes to see him, and like, you know, the wee little twins are really upset. They're like, oh, well, Christmas isn't going to come now. Guess that's ruined. And the boy feels guilty, so he writes a letter to Santa Claus saying like, oh, I hope Chippy the elf is alright. Please give him my regards. He sends a
this kid who's like 8 or 9, he
writes a snail mail letter.
He fucking doesn't believe in the elf on the shelf, and then he touches it, and it somehow, because gravity exists, it falls over, and then his little sisters are upset, and then this makes him have an emotional breakdown and write a fucking letter to Santa Claus, who he now believes in, begging him to put the magic back in this fucking inanimate object.
Well, he doesn't say put the magic back in him. He just says, I hope he's okay, and tell him I'm sorry, and all this.
Oh, that's the implication.
So then Santa goes to see Chippy in the ER, and it's like, look, he has believed. Well, before this, Chippy's like, I failed. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I just can't do it. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, I didn't make him believe. And he's like, it's not your job to make people believe. You can't make people believe. It's your job to just be there when they believe. And I'm like, then what's the fucking point?
Yeah. Well, the point, Chippy, is that you are there when they fail. That way, I can live vicariously through you and laugh at them as they get no presents and then go to hell.
Like the whole thing of like, oh, the elf on the shelf is watching you and reporting back to Santa Claus. None of these elves are ever depicted as reporting bad behavior or good behavior to Santa Claus.
Yeah. They're just like, is your kid still alive? Yep.
So
see you tomorrow.
Are they like what, some kind of like Christmas like social worker? Like I have so many questions. Because
Please don't. They might get answered.
One of the reasons that pisses me off so much is it's like I feel like it's a cop out. You know? Like, when I was a kid, it was good enough for my parents to be like, not only, like, if you don't behave, I will beat the snot out of you. It's, well, if you don't be good, Santa Claus is watching, no Christmas presents. And, like, I mean, I was pretty sure from alright, here's my story. I was pretty sure from a very early age that there was no Santa Claus. And this finally came to a head when I was, would you stop that?
No, I'm listening.
Okay. This finally came to a head when I was 5, and I think I told the story at some point during the Christmasing that, oh my god. that I think it was because it was when I was 5 and this kid Tommy down the street was 6. I said to my mom, because this was the 80s, I want to ask Santa Claus for a skateboard. And my mom said, I don't think that Santa Claus would bring a child your age a skateboard. And we were in the car. And she said, and then you got quiet for a very long time. And you said, well, last year, Santa Claus brought Tommy down the street a skateboard. And last year he was 5. So Santa Claus would bring a child my age a skateboard. But I find it very strange that Santa Claus would only bring what you or Dad think is okay for me to have. And my mom was like, oh, and I was really quiet because, spoilers, my mom's, her master's is in educational psychology, and she's a clinical psychologist. She has a PhD in clinical psychology. So she goes like, so I was really quiet as I wanted to hear where you were going with this. And he goes, I don't think that there is a Santa Claus, is there? And I was like, no, it's your father and I getting you presents. But this is an adult secret. You are very special for knowing this, and you're not allowed to tell any other kids, because if you do, I will beat the snot out of you. So I was like, oh, I'm so special. But yeah,
I get threatened.
No, but like I was like, I know the secret. But it was so great.
Violence.
Like no,
potential
stop
violence.
it. Like, you know, when people like at school be like, oh, I wonder what Santa Claus is gonna bring me. Like, this is I'm thinking to myself. But yeah, like, I don't know. I mean, it just the threat when I was a little teeny kid was, if you don't be good, Santa won't bring you presents. And then after that, you know, and once my sister became old enough, it became, if you don't be good, your father and I will go right back to the shopping center and return all the presents we got for you.
Well, I absolutely hate Christmas and everything that comes with it, including the Doctor Who Christmas specials usually.
Well, because they're usually rubbish.
Well, yeah, but still, it's not just because they're Christmas. But because grew up non-Christian in a very Christian area, which means that every single year I was bullied quite badly. People, by kids, using Christmas as a sort of a cudgel because you didn't celebrate it. And then, just to sort of make things a little bit worse, whenever I was, I think it was like 5 or 6.
Oh yeah, your trauma.
Well, I don't know if I'd call it trauma.
I would call it, I'm a mental health professional now, and I would call it a trauma.
Okay, when I was 5 or 6, the school did this thing, which they, in all honesty, they probably thought was a really wonderful thing, and for most kids it probably was. But every year, they would get the oldest year of kids, who were about 11 or 12, to write letters to the youngest class, asking, you know, like as though they're from Santa Claus, from the elves. As a little letter, you know, just to make Santa Claus more real to them. And this had the effect of, whenever I was that young, of making me think that there was a Santa Claus. Because that was evidence, and, you know, everyone else believed in it. And then, of course, Christmas morning, not a happy child.
What did you ask for?
Can't remember.
Because, you know, if you ever do remember, I will fucking get it for you in a second, because I have Amazon Prime. Like, and then every year I'm like, what do you want? Oh, I don't know, just get me some DVDs of my own so much. No, it will be special! It will be magical! I will make up for this trauma for you someday! I will make you someday enough Christmas cookies that is made up for this trauma.
But yeah, if you, you know, these sorts of things, which are really, really well-meaning for, you know, kids who do Christmas, for families who do that, I can see this having a similar sort of effect. Like if you have a Christian family or Christmas-doing family who have an elf, and then the small children believe it, and then one of their friends comes over and they see the elf and everything, and they start getting the idea, and then of course nothing happens for them on Christmas. It's very upsetting for the small child. So it's like, try to do your stupid little make Christmas more magical, ridiculous shit. Try to do it in such a way that it doesn't have collateral damage among non-Christians, because small children, it doesn't take a lot to hurt them.
Yeah, although like Jewish kids have an insight, because they're like, one night, I get presents for like over a week. Just saying. Look at all those lights in the menorah. One present every night. Well, because my dad's Jewish, and my mom's was raised Roman Catholic, so basically they were like, oh, well, you guys both religions, and so we didn't get presents for Hanukkah, but we did get a shit ton of the Hanukkah gelt, the little gold, the chocolate coins. Oh, I fucking love them. I could eat a whole bag of them right now.
Okay.
There you go. But yeah, so, spoilers, in the end, he gets his magic back, and he goes back to the family, and the family sings another song, and...
Another fucking song.
Then he leaves them Christmas Eve. He's like, oh, there you are, Santa. Well, I can't wait to come back next year. And I want to emphasize the fact that around the time when I left the States, so, because we don't really sell Elf on the Shelf at my shop, Eason's, although they've been trying to bring it in because people have been asking for it, my information is 3 years old, but before I left, we did have, like, a birthday set for the Elf on the Shelf, and there was a special, like, birthday book about, so how, like, the elf now also came on your birthday, but I'm like, what's the point of that? If the whole entire point of it is to threaten kids to maintain good behavior, how are you going to be like, if you don't be good, the elf will tell Santa Claus and you get no birthday, when chronologically, you will age anyway. Just be a parent and say, if you don't behave yourself, I'm not going to give you a party.
Plus, Santa Claus has no jurisdiction over birthday
exactly.
presents.
It's time. You are always constantly moving forward at a consistent rate of 1 second per second through the dimension of time.
They've got to invent...
That's quantum theory.
They have to invent a fucking Santa Claus stand-in for birthdays, like jolly fat birthday man, and make him wear a blue suit and he's got fucking grey hair. Grey beard.
No. And this will make you... this is the licensed character that will make you happy. Caleb the Calendar Capybara. He's just a big jolly capybara that dances through the calendar, and when it's your birthday, you get a special little butt dance for the capybara.
I want a real capybara.
I know.
I want to get a capybara so
and they're legal to own in the UK.
So I can walk it, and people will assume I've got a really deformed dog. It'll be awesome.
It will not be awesome.
Plus,
well, you need like a whole entire pool to keep a capybara in. Where are you going to get one in Donegal?
I don't know. I'll work that out later on. I'm just saying, this is just ideal thing I'd like one, because apparently they're very friendly. They're like giant guinea pigs.
Caleb the Calendar Capybara, original character of Do Not Steal. So, that was the Elf on the Shelf movie. It was only 27 minutes long, but it felt like it was like 2 hours.
And this is going on my review list. Probably sooner rather than later, if I feel like basically doing a little bit less work for another review. Because... I don't know if you guys realize it, those reviews take a hell of a lot of work, and it is nice every so often to have a shorter one, which means I can have a little bit of time to do something else.
So, Claire from London, thank you, and we're seeing her in November, right?
Yeah. Claire was so awesome when we met up at Alcon that, well, we decided that we'd meet up with her when we visit London at the end of November. I believe it's the 30th.
For a meal of some international origin. Because all we have is Chinese and dairy and kebab. And occasionally Mexican.
We're hanging out for the day too. Well, it'll depend on what we're doing and what she's doing.
But meal of international origins will occur.
Probably Vietnamese.
Aye. Yes.
It's the day after we go to the fucking Death in the Ice, the Franklin exhibition at the National Maritime Museum in London.
We're actually groupies of a professor that's speaking.
Yeah, Professor Russell Potter is doing a talk, and
my phone.
I have one of his books here to get signed.
So yeah.
Because it's Russell Potter.
Oh, and also
he's in documentaries.
Information for you guys. I have a Patreon now. I launched it last night.
Yeah, it's all about kids, films, and psychology. She could get a fucking minefield out of that.
No, I couldn't. There's so little.
But the badness of the possible damage done.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. You could do an episode.
I could see how in a family that is a very dysfunctional family, a child that already has a history of trauma and an environmental predisposition to mental illness could form psychotic delusions around the elf.
That'd be a really great kids horror film.
It would be, but I think we'd have to play fast and loose with copyright or they'll sue us.
Well, just invent something else, like the elf on the gelf on the shelf.
Melf. Anyway, so that's been us. That's been this, and don't forget, the elf on the shelf is watching you every single Christmas.